Welcome back to Problematic Women. Guys, next week is Thanksgiving, and if you are going to a fancy dinner that you really need to impress people, in-laws, boyfriend, girlfriends, parents, what have you, look no further. We have total etiquette training today on this special edition, Thanksgiving edition of Problematic Women. We have Alison Cheperdak with us. She'll teach you everything that you need to know, and maybe you'll learn some Thanksgiving trivia to impress some people at the dinner table with. So stay tuned. This is Problematic Women. Welcome back to Problematic Women. I'm Elise McHugh.
I'm Morgan.
I'm Crystal.
And this week we have Alison, also known as on Instagram. You've probably seen her videos, Elevated Etiquette, which I just love. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So excited to have you here. I actually followed you on Instagram before I even realized, put two and two together that we were going to get to chat today. So wow. I'm so excited to hear everything from you personally and your story.
Thank you.
Especially given the season. I know we'll be able to bring our audience something new, but I kind of want to talk about your personal life a little bit and your life in DC. You said you've been here for 7 years.
We've been here for more than 10 years now.
More than 10 years now. Oh yes. My goodness. So what brought you to DC? What have kind of been your political adventures and kind of leading into where you are now?
Before I moved to DC, I was a television news reporter and anchor in upstate New York for an NBC station, and I was covering general assignments. So that means a little bit of everything. And I found myself most attracted to legal stories and political stories. And so that's what motivated me to go to law school. And I applied to law schools up and down the East Coast. I got into George Washington University's law school here. And so moved to DC. My husband, we were already married, and he got a job down here as well. And then while I was in law school, I was a law clerk on 4 committees in Congress, 3 in the Senate, 1 in the House Ways and Means. I clerked for the chairman of the Federal Communication Commission at the time, and then graduated from law school, worked in big law in commercial litigation, and then from there joined the Treasury during the first Trump administration as assistant to the general counsel of the Treasury Department. And then from there, I worked in the West Wing of the White House for President Trump as assistant staff secretary.
It's been busy over there.
I'm sharing all these things.
Quite
I know
resume.
you have a really engaged, civically aware audience, so I don't usually share all of these things when I'm speaking. But from the White House, I then clerked for a federal judge, and then I was the executive director of the March for Life. And it was while I was at the March for Life where as one does, I decided to get a certification in British and American etiquette, not because it was something that I ever intended to teach or turn into a business, but for my own personal growth. And it was a friend of mine, a really smart friend that I was working with also in a political capacity, who kind of opened my eyes to how this could be a positive thing, and I could share things in a winsome way that was not full of shame and was helpful. And so I got the certification, and I started seeing some other businesses that were similar, just with a different tone and tenor, which I saw as proof of concept. And so I started posting online, and within a matter of months, I had 100,000 followers on Instagram, and things took off pretty quickly to the point where I was able to go all in on the business.
So you don't miss politics?
No, but I will say I have a lot of respect for people who work in politics. It's so important, and I'm grateful that I work in a more tangential capacity now as I'm doing speaking engagements for various government offices or things like that. I'm happy to be training. There's a lot of intern groups that come to DC, or there's lobbyists that are looking for assistance with their clients that are coming in for fly-ins, or I've been teaching at the White House internship program, business etiquette skills. So I'm really happy to be able to serve in a different way now.
Yeah. Wow. Mic drop, honestly, after that resume of things that you've done here in DC, it's so impressive. And honestly, out of everything, I think etiquette is the one that feels the most daunting to me, because politics, if you're strong-headed, you can do it, but etiquette, that is embarrassing if you're doing things wrong.
I would say, think about how you're thinking about etiquette, because some people think of etiquette and they think of it as a really formal situation or a fancy situation, but it's actually all about relationships. And I would say most people who work in Washington and most people who succeed in Washington, they're actually pretty advanced when it comes to social skills and soft skills and emotional intelligence, because it's very much a relationship-driven town, and it's a place where a lot of people aren't from here. So not that there's anything wrong with using family connections or things like that, but it's a lot of self-made people with high emotional intelligence. And I saw that it makes such a difference. things like writing a thank you note or being someone who you can trust, when you're dealing with sensitive material that might not be like security clearance sensitive, but it's still sensitive, and just being someone that has good judgment, it takes you really far. And I consider that all within the umbrella of etiquette. So is etiquette knowing what an oyster fork looks like? Yes, but it's also knowing how to be like a joy to work with and professional.
And I think that's something in society, you've probably seen this through the years in politics and just culture in America, that has kind of been lost, is just overall general etiquette and manners. Like the word etiquette seems to be very like high class and proper, but it doesn't have to be. And it really comes down to, I think, basic manners, even please and thank you. Like you said, thank you notes, and adopting those kind of traits as people of showing our appreciation for others, being attentive listeners. What would you say is your number one tip for kind of just average Americans of how to adopt more etiquette practices or manners into your daily lives?
I would say start with listening. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially if you have any anxiety, say talking to someone new or being in a different environment, oftentimes people focus too much on what they're going to say next and less on what the other person is saying. And if you can give yourself the permission to just focus on listening, then over time, the curiosity will come. And when you're panicked, you can't be curious. And then the conversations can become very disjointed and the person feels like you're not really connecting or relating or maybe even being rude.
So we're having like a little bit of therapy also.
That's
so true though.
That's something I used to struggle with, just like being so nervous. I want to make sure I'm giving off the right impression, that I would completely not listen to what the person was saying to me. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not trying to be rude, but I totally missed it. So just taking a second, and it's just so much more interesting to hear other people talk than yourself sometimes. But you make a really interesting point about listening to people, especially upon first impressions. So we're going to walk through like a Thanksgiving, a family, Christmas, whatever, what have you, dinner. What from the jump is like your number one rule? Like you're meeting new people. How do you enter this situation?
So are we saying like you are new to the environment? Like you're like the girlfriend going to your boyfriend's house for Thanksgiving. For
new environment, or just like you're seeing your family and you don't want to be rude to them. Just first impressions.
Okay. So first I would say start with some topics that you are comfortable talking about. This was one of my favorite books by Charles Duhigg. It's called Super Communicators. He references this Harvard Business School study about index cards, where if people jotted down some topics that they were comfortable discussing, they put it on an index card, they put it in their back pocket. Not only did most of them never talk about any of those topics, but they had more confidence in conversation just because they had done that exercise. So they knew if there was like this terrible silence and no one knew what to talk about, they could just pull out that card and they could talk about one of the prepared things. And when we're talking about things that are good for a Thanksgiving situation, we usually want to stay away from things like money, sex, politics, religion, and health status. And when I say health status, I mean like, it's not the moment to talk about your diet or your macros or that kind of a thing. Like let your, uncle enjoy the mashed potatoes or whatever it is that may not suit your preferences. And that's a good way to set yourself up for success. And then you also want to be prepared for those questions that you don't want to answer or you hope are not asked. And that can mean different things for different people. Like for, your cousin, it might be they don't want to be asked where they're going to college next year or what they're going to major in or when you're finally going to get married or if you're planning on having kids or, what you think about an election or some sort of political issue. So I don't believe in a cookie cutter format of there's exactly one way for everybody to respond to these types of questions, but you want to figure out what suits you and your personality so that you can be prepared to say something like, I'd rather not talk about that right now, or I'd love to hear about something that's going on in their lives so that you can quickly pivot and deflect in a way that doesn't make the other person feel like they're some kind of heathen because they asked you something that you don't feel comfortable answering.
I think that's something really important to highlight, like what you said about pivoting the conversation. Like it's okay to not answer somebody's question. And I feel like a lot of people feel the pressure, especially living conservative lifestyles, that when you're at the dinner table, maybe with your in-laws who don't necessarily agree with you, that they're always, or not always, but going to want to probe those kind of more inappropriate etiquette questions about politics or money or family life, super personal things, when you're just trying to have a good time at the dinner table and like knowing like it's okay, you don't have to answer them. How do you approach like conversations with brand new people? Like if you're walking in first time, like what are some good questions to ask other people right off the bat so you can help get to know them without it sounding too surface level?
So if we're talking about a Thanksgiving or a holiday meal, I like to ask people about traditions in their family or
that's a good
favorite
one.
memories or favorite recipes or things that they really look forward to this time of year. How do they spend Black Friday or all that kind of thing?
Fun question.
If they're from a part of the country that you're not as familiar with, I love asking them questions like, if I ever go there, what do I need to do? What are the like must-sees or the places that, what's the food you have to try? All of those kinds of things. And then I don't recommend starting with what do you do or anything like that, because like, even though in DC people say it in a way that I think is totally benign and they mean nothing by it, they really are trying to connect. But in most places of the world, and especially on Thanksgiving where it's not such a work-focused occasion, it's better to ask questions about like how they've been spending their time and things like that. Or you can ask them about things about like the Christmas holidays and winter holidays that are coming
My
up too.
go-to is, if you had a walk-up song, what would it be?
I love that.
Interesting.
That's a fun
It always
question.
throws people off. I always ask it in interviews.
What
too.
would yours be?
All I do is win.
Oh, that's good.
That was my walk-up song in college. So like, yeah, like
Makes
that's
sense.
fine.
Do you guys know off the top of your heads what your walk-in song would be?
What a walk-up song? I have no idea.
I
Probably
had
something
someone-
Taylor Swift.
I
Yeah.
like interviewed this expert at TPPF back when I worked there. And I always asked this question towards the end of interviews just to kind of like throw people off, but also try to see if they're a good culture fit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
who are you as a person more
Yes.
so than just like, what are your credentials? Can you do the job? And one guy like spouted off some, like, it wasn't Beethoven, but it was some like Austrian pianist, like the score, and he was describing it. And I was like,
Okay.
Whoa.
okay. I was like,
I kind of love that though.
that's beautiful. Wouldn't really
Oh,
hype
wow.
me up, I don't think. But I'll take a listen.
I love
That's
it.
so
We can
funny.
tune in.
Do you have a
during
walk-up song?
holidays.
The first thing that comes to mind is Legally Blonde.
Oh
my
like-
gosh,
Or like when
yes.
she's studying and she's on the Stairmaster.
Yeah.
I
Or
love
the
it.
elliptical.
I love that.
Legally Blonde, the musical specifically.
Yes.
Love it. That was like one of the first musicals I ever saw as a kid. Honestly, probably some musical theater too. I just feel like it's meant for that kind of thing. I'll remember this for Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll just make my mom play it from her phone. I've arrived. Probably not super classy, but okay. So my next question that I really want to know. So you get to the dinner table, napkin. I think this is a lost art because I grew up, my mom always said, when you get to the table, you take the forks and stuff out of the napkin at a restaurant or you're at your home, you put it on your lap and that's where it stays. And you used to do like the dabbing thing, but I feel like I don't really see people doing that anymore. So walk us through some
Start to finish.
Start to finish. You're sitting at the dinner
What are the
table,
basics?
do's and don'ts.
Okay, so if you're sitting down and you see your napkin, what you do depends on where you are. So if you're at a restaurant or somewhere where you're paying for your meal, you put your napkin in your lap as soon as you sit down.
Okay.
If you're at home, like for Thanksgiving, you would wait until your host does so first. Because, like, let's imagine the host is finishing the meal and all of us are seated here and we all have our napkins in our lap. It comes
Mm.
across
Kinda
like
rude.
we're waiting.
Yeah.
And when you're a guest, you want to come across more like you don't have a care in the world and you're not paying attention to the fact that, you know, they said dinner would be at such and such a time and now that time has passed. So wait until you see your host put it in her or his lap first. And then as you're looking at your place setting, one way that I like to remember that the bread is on the left and that your meal is the center and your drinks or your water is on the right is BMW. So just like the vehicle. So B is for bread on the left, M is for meal in the center, and then water is on the right. You can also make a B and a D with your hands to remember.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
fun.
another way.
Drink. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Speaking
another way
of,
to remember.
I'm just gonna do that.
And then, for all good. For your utensils, you generally want to work from the outside in. And if you're not sure, just pause for a moment. There's probably somebody else at the table that does know what they're doing. So you can just take a beat and then observe what others are doing. If you have utensils that are at the top of your place setting, those are typically for dessert. And I know we don't have them in front of us, but we have the handles facing the outside so you can delicately slide them into place for dessert when it's time.
Interesting.
I
So you
find-
don't just grab them from out there.
Well,
Slide them.
If you
Right
want
to
to, you
place.
can. And I think that's like one of the one things if you're into tablescapes, and this is like the Olympics of tablescapes time going into Thanksgiving and Christmas
Mhm.
with
Oh,
flowers
yes.
and all the textures and colors and all of the things. That's the one thing that I see mixed up the most is people have the fork and the spoon for dessert facing the wrong way. You want to sit where you're assigned if there's a seating arrangement. I like seating arrangements. I do not think they're exclusive. I don't think they're giving you can't sit with us energy. I actually think it's the opposite. I think it shows that you care, you're
Yeah,
welcoming,
it's
and
thoughtful
you've
to
thought
the
about
table.
where people should go. And if you're hosting, think about, do you want to have a kids table? Do you not want to have a kids table? There's pros and cons there. A kids table is very much an American thing. And even though I have some of my fondest memories as a child at the kids table, I do find that kids that sit among adults often have better manners and they're more open to trying foods that they wouldn't if they were with a bunch of kids wanting a kid's meal.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about from a host perspective? Pro tip on if you're creating a seating arrangement,
Yes.
do you have recommendations? Like if you have couples coming, do you seat them together? Do you mix them up?
Cross
Does it
to each
depend?
other.
Great question. So if you are the host, generally the heads of the table, if you have a long rectangular table, those are the hosts. So if we're talking about like a husband and wife, they're on either side of the table. They could also go French style. Like sometimes we see President Trump do that in the Roosevelt Room. He'll sit in the middle. So you can do that, but that's less traditional in the US. The guest of honor or the guest of highest honor is the person that's to the right of the host. And if you want to be really traditional, you would do male, female, male, female. So like, let's say someone celebrating their birthday or something like that, they would go to the right of the host. In a situation like Thanksgiving, you kind of need to know the rules in order to break them. That's something the Emily Post Institute says all the time. But you don't want to follow things so much to a T. You want to really think about who are your guests. So like, do you have elderly guests that need a little more space or they would be better suited on the end of a table? Or do you have someone that needs to keep an eye on their little one? So again, you don't want to put them in a place where it would be disruptive if they have to get up during a meal. If someone is left-handed, they might appreciate being on an end.
Yeah.
You know,
Can't relate.
things like that. So those are the big things. And then it's nice to separate couples because then they have different experiences, because if couples are seated beside each other,
They'll
they
just talk to each other.
or they talk to each other, or they are part of the same conversations for the whole night or the whole day, instead of mixing things up. Also, when you split up couples, it makes for a more seamless integration of your family and your friends that are not in a relationship, which is nice.
It kind of levels the playing field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The only instance would be if you think someone is really uncomfortable. Like, let's say you have a sister-in-law and you know that she's devastated that she's not spending Thanksgiving with her family, and you think that, you know, there's some social anxiety. So then the kind thing to do is to put them together if you really think it would be tough. But you can not put couples next to each other and also put them very close together. And so
You kind of solve for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When it comes to hosting, I feel like that in and of itself is an art. I know a lot of people are going to be hosting Friendsgivings, creating these tablescapes. What is something that a host can do to offer maybe help to their guests? Because I feel like sometimes, like when I even show up to a house early or just on time and I can see the host running around also greeting people, I want to be helpful. So what is the best way to be helpful? Is it okay to be helpful to a host, or is it more respectful and better etiquette to maybe, you know, let the host host? Like what is your take on that?
That's such a sweet series of questions, and I can tell that you're a very good host because you're even thinking this way. But I would say, as a host, you are the leader. You are the master of ceremonies, and you need to be prepared with what are all the things that need to be done and what are the things that I can delegate. So and don't be afraid to ask for help. If you want to do everything yourself, you certainly can, but know that you don't have to if you don't want to. And especially with a meal like a Friendsgiving, people will feel more like family if they're doing your dishes. And I'm not saying you should bring your friends over to do your dishes, but that's part of it. Like packing up leftovers and serving family style. It's not a very formal meal, even though we might have a formal place setting. It's still a family style type of situation. Yes. So have some things ready. Like, you can have a friend help answer the door. You can have a friend help with coats. You can have someone who helps fill the glasses with water when it's time to eat. You can even, like, let's say you know someone who's been through a hard time recently, or maybe they know you, but they don't know other people, and you have a more gregarious friend that's coming. You can say, can you make sure that you include so-and-so in a conversation? Or you just kind of have those sort of background conversations so that you don't need to be taking care of everybody.
It's okay to ask for help.
It's definitely okay to ask for help.
Is there anything as a guest then that we could do to be like an outstanding attendee of this event?
So first, you want to RSVP as soon as you can. So say thank you so much for the kind invitation. We'd love to join you. Let us know if we can bring anything. Always offer and then respect whatever is said. And if a host says, no, we're good, just bring yourself, can't wait to see you, what they mean is they don't need any food or drink for that particular meal. But it's still polite to bring a host gift, and it's still polite to at least have like a note, a thank you note, something like that. If you're bringing a host gift, you want it to be something that is really easy for them to accept. So you don't want to bring a gorgeous bouquet that's not in water already, because then
They're
you're
busy.
It's more work.
Exactly. Then your host, who is trying to get the turkey at the right temperature and the gravy and all the things, needs to get up on a stool to reach a vase, or, whatever, and find the right place for the flowers. So it's better to get something from Trader Joe's and put it in a mason jar or something. It doesn't need to be anything real fancy. And then when you arrive, offer to help and then respect whatever the host says. So if she says, no, we're good, don't say like, oh, no. And don't like,
I insist.
Don't insist. And like, maybe you are like a charcuterie board master and you're watching this and thinking like, I could really level this up. Just like wait to be asked.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay for not everything to be perfect if the host doesn't want the help.
And another pro tip for hosts is that oftentimes everybody comes over and they ask you immediately, is there anything I can do to help? And the answer may be no at that moment. But what you could say is, I don't need your help right now, but what I would love is for your help with the transition between dinner and dessert, because that's a time that can be really disruptive, because what happens is one person gets up and starts doing dishes and then everyone feels like, oh, I can't sit here. And so all of a sudden there's a line by the trash and people are putting it's just, it really disrupts
Gets
the
chaotic.
flow of the evening. But if you have like two girlfriends that can help you with that transition, it allows everybody to stay seated and they barely even know that it's happening, and you can like turn the oven on, you can preheat an apple pie, you can put all the dishes in the dishwasher, and
I love it.
I guess the underlying theme I'm sensing from all of this is just be so socially aware of who you're talking to, guest, host, whichever, just making sure you're not going to make anyone too uncomfortable, which is such a lost art, honestly.
Exactly. Like if you're a guest, you want to be thinking as if you were a host. And if you're a host, you want to be thinking as if you were a guest.
What are some of the more unconventional host gifts that you've
That's what I was
seen?
going to ask.
yeah.
It's like,
Breakfast the next day,
oh,
which
So
people
smart.
feel very
Wonderful.
strongly about. And the reason being, especially if you have overnight guests, so if you're planning a big meal or planning a big party, maybe you don't even have the space in your fridge for anything but what you're serving. And oftentimes breakfast is an afterthought, or it's like, we'll figure it out once we get there. And if you bring something like donuts or banana bread or whatever it is, it's clear that you're not trying to contribute to the dinner, and they can enjoy it the next day.
My aunt used to always do that.
Really?
Yeah, that's so funny. I never thought of it in that way though. Aunt Nettie always brought like a coffee cake.
that's
to
really
Christmas.
sweet.
Like,
That's so
all the time.
nice.
And then the next morning, inevitably, we would always be eating the coffee cake.
The
I
next-
never put that together.
The next morning after Thanksgiving, I'm always just eating the leftovers.
Oh, 100%.
I'm just like looking
Yeah.
forward to it while I'm eating the dinner. I'm probably not being super present, but I'm always looking forward to that. But I'll remember that. That's like a really good one.
Another one I like is coffee table books, and you can go in a lot of
Oh,
directions with that,
yeah.
like whether someone is really into golf or flowers or gardening or photography, travel. So long
I
as
like that.
you think that
That's
they'd be
unique.
open to that. Some
Yeah.
people have space limitations.
if you're visiting family, this is kind of on the line of those hostess gifts, are thank you cards necessary for a Thanksgiving or a Christmas celebration if you are the outsider attending maybe your in-laws family, or if it's like more of a larger family gathering where you're not the one that's necessarily like directly hosting with that? What do you think about thank you notes during the holidays?
I love a thank you note. I think it's a beautiful gesture. The only instance where I think thank you notes are not necessary is when you are thanking someone for a thank you gift. So a host gift is a thank you gift, so you don't need to be sending a thank you unless you really want to. Like, let's say you were really touched by it, it was especially generous, and you certainly can. But at some point, the cycle of thanking needs to stop.
Yeah.
But if you're a guest at someone's home, especially, people don't talk about it too much, but a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources go into putting together a Thanksgiving. And especially if someone's not doing this on a regular basis, and this is like their one thing of a year, and they're taking out all the, fine china, their family heirlooms, it's a big deal. So writing a thank you note goes a long way.
Absolutely.
We've talked a lot about, what are the right things to do, how to start conversations at the dinner tables, which I think is really important. But how do you handle conversations or people who may be at the dinner table who have very poor etiquette, poor manners? Is that the right time to bring it up and maybe like, oh, put your napkin on your lap, or like, oh, maybe let's talk about that later? What is the right way to approach people who maybe just like don't know?
So generally, it's not good etiquette to correct other people's etiquette unless they have told you that it's something that they're open to and it's something that they want to work on. The exception would be like if you are someone's boss or you're a colleague or you're a mentor or you're a parent, things like that, where you have a vested interest in the person's success. Like let's say it's a colleague and you're going on client dinners. It's really important that they know what they're doing. But at a dinner table for Thanksgiving, I'd say if it's your husband and it's a napkin and you can discreetly communicate it, by all means do that. But
I can see it.
I'm not a big believer in like correcting the record in real time unless it's really egregious.
That's a good, I feel like, lesson to live by is like be the one to stand out and to shine with your own etiquette, and maybe the other people around you will pick up on that.
Lead by example.
Stay in your lane.
100%.
Something I actually wanted to ask you about was, I know people always make jokes about like, oh, Thanksgiving, we're going to eat 3,000 calories. Like I'm going to wear my stretchy pants. What is proper attire for a family dinner situation like this?
So I wouldn't say there's a one size fits all, but I would say that you should match or exceed. We're not talking about like ball gowns when everybody else is wearing jeans and cute sweaters, but match or exceed whatever the dress code is for the family that you're visiting.
Okay, interesting. Would this be fine?
I think so.
I think so too.
Like we're all kind of dressed in like holiday casual, a little elevated casual. That's my favorite. Is like an elevated casual. It's where it's not jeans and a t-shirt, but it's also not a super formal dress. Like you can have a pair of pumps on or ballet flats with this mini dress or like a coat. I think that's like the perfect medium.
I saw a quote recently by Diane Keaton that said she always dressed like someone she would want to see. And I thought, that's
beautiful.
That's so nice.
So simple.
Did you ever learn probably, but the 2/3 rule of always going out with like your hair and makeup if your outfit's not as good? That's something that I learned that years and years and years ago, of just like culturally, that's how we should go out and present ourselves. I feel like where we are right now in culture, I'm going to kind of shift it away from the dinner table, is how can we as a society get to a place that's we're a little bit more, I feel like, I don't want to say acceptable or proper, but I do feel like a lot of tradition, a lot of appearances has kind of been lost throughout the years. How do you think we can adopt more manners, better etiquette, better appearances in culture without it feeling like, you have to do this, if that makes sense?
I think when people feel like they have to do it or it doesn't feel authentic to them, it's because it feels performative and it's not attached to any sort of why or meaningful purpose. And so I like to break it down to, why are we doing this? Manners and etiquette are all about integrity, respect, and kindness. And it's not just respect for other people, but it's also respect for ourselves. And when you do dress well and when you do take care to be your best self, you're contributing to your own confidence and your own self-respect, and you're communicating to others how you want to be treated, as well as the way that you show up for others in the world. So that's how I like to start. If anyone ever feels like, well, why am I doing this? I'm not trying to impress anybody.
I think we should just ban leggings on airplanes.
I agree with that. I've adopted
Backwards
that.
from
That and sweatpants. I've started to not wear leggings or sweatpants to the airport. And it's honestly like, it's really nice to show up looking nice to an airport. You never know who you're going to meet in an airport too. And you're usually going to the hotel and an establishment where you're having to be face to face with people. Like, why would you show up somewhere where you're traveling, unless it's like a 40-hour flight, or like, unless it's an international, unless it's an international flight, long haul flight, then
We've all been there.
Then I do the casual.
It feels like the index card where you're like, even though you might not even need to be dressed up really nice for something, you have the confidence. You're prepared. So
See the 2/3 rule. If I'm wearing sweatpants to the airport for a long haul flight, my hair is not in a messy bun.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your take on the face masks on airplanes on long haul flights?
Doing your skincare routine.
Oh, yes.
I am all about the best skincare. So I can
send it.
Yeah.
yeah, I can appreciate the motivation. And I do think it's more private. So there is that.
True.
Mhm.
But in general, if we're talking about ideal situations, all hygiene is done in private. So that means like no brushing your hair at the table or like clipping your nails or like touching up your makeup. All of that is done in private.
Absolutely. And you guys bring up a really interesting and important point about etiquette. It's not just we're doing it frivolously. There is a why behind it. And as conservative women, we always talk about our values, the culture war, everything. And we also do recognize that it's not just we're fighting this on the front lines on social media and our jobs, but it starts in the home. And even just something as small as a Thanksgiving dinner. You're with people who see you, you represent your values, you represent your politics if that's what you do public facing. So it's just so important to be representing yourself as politely and warmly and as considerately as you can. And I'm just definitely going to take all these back with me on Thursday when we have dinner.
100%.
It also can give you some confidence to assert boundaries and to stand up for yourself, because etiquette is about morality and about right from wrong. And so when you know that someone is trying to manipulate you or something like that, you can feel more grounded in like, actually, no, this is what I'm going to stand up for.
Absolutely.
I have one really random question because I just think it would be interesting for our audience to hear, because I've always kind of had the opinion that maybe etiquette classes in public schools would be a positive thing for our society. I remember going to an etiquette class when I was in elementary school, and I did cotillion in middle school. I learned table setting and how to eat and how to have conversations, interacting even with boys like properly. And I think that's something that a lot has been lost. Would you support that idea, or what do you think about classes like that being offered in a school type of setting? Because I feel like a lot of parents even don't even know how to teach that to their children. So like even just
or don't have the resources to sign them up for like cotillion or something like that, right?
100%. So it's like, what do you feel like is a good way to approach that with like the masses of like the next generation?
Thank you for that question. You make such a great point that etiquette is the ultimate equalizer, and that I don't teach etiquette so that people can go to a fancy dinner and be thinking about exactly what fork they're using at each moment. I teach it so that people don't have to think about any of those things. That's awesome. That the etiquette is second nature, so that they can be making the relationships and having the conversations in these moments that matter. It was something maybe some of your listeners have read this book, but Hillbilly Elegy by Vice President J.D. Vance. He talks about the on-campus interview process when he was at Yale Law School, and how he was so distracted by the quality of the table linens and how to pronounce various things on menus during the recruiting process. And at the time I was in law school and just thinking, this is hard enough. Never mind if you were really anxious about all of these dining etiquette questions that you had. So I hope that in the teaching that I'm doing, and that there's an interest for people to learn these things so that it can be an equalizer and it's not something that holds them back.
I should start you on a public school tour.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Go to elementary schools and do. I honestly, did you ever do an etiquette class? Either of you?
No,
as
I never
kids?
did.
My favorite thing, like after school, my mom just decided to put me in. I remember my favorite day was when we actually got to have like a formal dinner of just like sitting at a dinner table, and we had to eat spaghetti, which is a very hard food to eat properly. And I remember I was probably 10 or 11 just sitting at a table with like probably 20 other kids my age that I had no idea who they were. We had gone on and off for like every other week just learning proper etiquette, but then the time came where you had to then put that in practice with a meal with other people. And I was like, that actually now even I see how when I was 10 or 11 years old, how that affects my life now. And I feel like that just having those small tidbits of information, it isn't like, this is the all and be all how you have to have a dinner, but it does help you in adulthood.
Some fundamentals.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
What's been the most rewarding experience for you in teaching etiquette and working with people in this way?
I've worked with some people with some extreme social anxiety, like people that they're like a deer in headlights and their heart is racing and their mind just goes blank and they're not sure what they're going to say next. And so working with them and preparing for job interviews and growing in confidence, that's probably been one of my favorites.
What's your favorite etiquette to teach?
My favorite etiquette to teach, I would say executive presence.
Oh.
I help people that are kind of trying to make that jump from their confident leading a meeting within their organization, but they want to be on panels for their industry, and they want to kind of make more of a name for themselves, and they
Kind
want
of take
to
that next
Exactly.
step. Next level.
Yeah.
exactly.
So, in terms of conversation, when we're back with our families this week, obviously we learned so much here today. I'm so excited to actually put this in practice and actually tell everyone, like, hey, this is what I did this past week if you're interested in what I did for work. But if you have any time or you want to impress your guests, I came up with some Thanksgiving trivia, and I actually want to know if you guys know any of these answers. Probably not, because I didn't really know them first. But I'm going to ask you guys, and we'll just go round table and see who's right. Okay, so first question. How many days did the first Thanksgiving last? Was it 1 day, 1 week, 3 days, or 10 days?
I have no idea.
3 days?
I was gonna go with 3.
I'll say 1 week just to be different.
It was 3 days.
Oh.
Okay, question.
Obviously knew that.
Obviously knew that. Aced
Didn't
it.
know that.
Okay, question 2. Who was the first president to pardon a turkey?
Oh, gosh.
Hint, he was from the 20th century. So it narrows it down.
I have no idea.
What's the multiple choice?
Oh, I didn't write a multiple choice for
It
this.
wasn't Johnson, was it?
No.
I don't know.
It was JFK.
Oh, okay.
Part of his legacy. Not the biggest part, obviously. but-
I wonder why that tradition started. I kind of love it though.
I know, it's kind of funny.
You know they stay at the Willard, the turkeys.
Oh,
I
really?
did not know.
Wow.
that.
They
In,
should.
like they live
In
a charmed
hotel
life.
room.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if they get to enjoy the afternoon tea at the Willard too.
They should learn some etiquette for that first. Okay. So, how many women were at the first Thanksgiving celebration? None, 5, 11, or 32?
Where did you find these questions?
The internet.
This is recorded. Did we verify
How many
this
women?
history?
What year was
How many
this?
problematic
It was in
women?
Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So,
say that?
none, 5, 11, or 2.
11.
I like that. 11.
11.
It was actually 5.
5.
5.
So it was a small celebration.
It's a small celebration, I guess.
I'm like,
Um,
how many people total were in there?
I don't know.
How many calories on average are consumed per person at Thanksgiving
You told
dinner?
us 3,000.
Yes. I forgot I slipped that. Yes, that was right. And last but not least, which retailer is the most dangerous place to shop on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving?
Best Buy.
Walmart.
Ooh, I was gonna go.
And what does dangerous mean?
Yeah.
Like fights.
oh,
I stand by Best
honestly,
Buy.
Best Buy,
Or
the
Walmart.
electronics.
Okay, so I think Best Buy was like runner up, but it's Walmart. According to the Parade magazine article I was reading, it said that 57.1% of recorded fights on Black Friday occur at Walmart, and there was a
That's
hashtag Walmart fights. So
Yeah.
these are all really
That
fun
makes
facts
sense.
that you can bring to your dinner table. Maybe we'll drop them in the comment section. But if you guys have any fun facts about Thanksgiving or any traditions or anything that you learned from today, like please let us know, because I'm just so excited to have this in my back pocket now.
And not that we're going to review questions next time because it'll be moot, or maybe it'll be a preview for Christmas. But I'm curious, like, what everyone is looking forward to eating on Thanksgiving. Like, what's your
Oh.
favorite dish?
And I'm gonna add another question. What is your favorite Thanksgiving tradition
that's
that you do
better.
with your family?
Yes. Wait, what about you guys? I'm actually so curious.
My favorite dish is sweet potatoes. And my favorite tradition, I think just like being with my family.
Yeah.
Which sounds hokey, but being with
Yeah.
my family, we draw a Secret Santa for Christmas, and it just like
That's
kicks
so
off
fun.
the holiday season.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really
Thanksgiving.
fun.
My favorites is also sweet potatoes, but specifically with the marshmallows and
Oh,
the
like candy yams or
pecans.
whatever they call them.
So good,
good.
with sweet potatoes. And my favorite tradition would probably be our post-Thanksgiving meal walk plus game. So after we have our meal, we go on a walk all together, and then we come back and like play like charades and a bunch of fun games together, like no phone. So that's really fun.
Stuffing, hands down, my favorite side for
So
sure.
good.
And then we used to always make handmade place cards for everyone for
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
That's so fun.
So
sweet.
that was like over the years, like when you're kids, like the hand turkeys.
Aw.
At first, and then as you get older and a little more sophisticated, you can make art better and draw.
That's
Like,
cute.
just fun.
I think my favorite dish is mashed potatoes. I make that every single year, like ever since I can remember. That was my thing. So I really look forward to that. And I think my favorite tradition, other than just being with my family and spending time with everyone coming from everywhere, is on Thanksgiving morning after going to Mass with my family, my sister and I will have recorded the Macy's Day Parade and we'll skip through all the floats and just watch the Broadway performances. And it's so sweet. And she lives in Georgia, so it's one of the only times that we're together in person. So we're there, we're bonding over something that we love, we're commenting, critiquing, loving it all. So I'm really looking forward to that this year with her again.
Yeah. Allison, before we have to go, could you tell everyone where they can find you if they want to learn more etiquette tips from you, and also if there's anything coming next? What's next?
Yeah, so you can find me at Elevate Etiquette on all the social places, so Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, and I have a newsletter that goes out weekly. You can find me at elevateetiquette.com, and then I have a book coming out in a few months that's called Was It Something I Said? Everyday Etiquette for Relationships, Work, and Life.
Amy Vanderbilt, step aside. Allison's coming in.
So excited for that. We'll link all of that information in our comments section. But Allison, thank you so much for joining us today. And I really hope that you and your family have such a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you. It's a joy to be with you all. And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving, everyone.